Here is another video in building a loft, or even in this case a one-bedroom apartment or one-bedroom house, however you want to look at it, over a two-car garage. And the only difference in this one here, I'm still going to keep it in our 20 by 24 video playlist series for the size of the building, but this one here I extended the length 2 feet, and that was to give the bedroom and the living room a little more room. And in this video here I went ahead and I moved the doorway to over here because I'm going to have plumbing in this wall, and I will be providing another video on that also. So not too big of a deal. Instead of walking in from this side over here, you're going to be walking in from this side, and that's probably not going to be that big of a deal. Let's go ahead and remove the floor framing. Take a look at the wall framing here. Just kind of whip around the building. And this is pretty much the same garage and framing as one of our previous videos. So I would suggest checking out all of the videos before designing and building something like this anyway. Next up, let's go ahead and take a look at the modifications that I will have made to the floor framing. And one of them will be to move the head out a little further this way so we can miss the plumbing pipe for the wash machine that will be located on the lower level, along with moving the doubler back a little bit to line up with the bathroom wall. And we are going to be installing some blocks 16 inches on center instead of adding doublers and relocating the joist to mess up our floor sheathing. And trust me, with the prices of lumber, I don't think they're going to be going down a lot. However, they could be going up even further in the future. And if that's the case, then you are definitely going to want to get your floor framing joist so that you don't end up with very much scrap floor sheathing. And these blocks can be nailed with 16D nails, probably about 3 or 4 on each side. And I'm going to go ahead and show you where the walls will be located so you can get a better idea why they're being installed and where they are being installed. And of course, it wouldn't hurt to check with your local building and safety department to verify all of the information in this video, because your engineer might want to have a doubler in there, and you might need a doubler to help support the roof or ceiling framing also. And you can see here where we put a couple of blocks underneath this section of the wall. And even though this joist is in a spot to where all we would need to do would be to add another full-length joist to it here, that's going to increase the cost of the building a little bit instead of just using a few blocks. Let's go ahead and remove the walls and then take a look at our stairs. So let's go ahead and zoom into the head out connection and then to the bottom of the stairway where the stringers attach to the concrete floor with our treated lumber and our pins. And for those of you who need more information about building a straight set of stairs, guess what? I have a few books that you can check out, and you can find those books at our website, or simply type "How to Build and Frame Stairs" into your favorite search engine, and I'm sure they will pull up the books. And according to a lot of the people who have purchased the books, they have made a big difference when cutting all the stringers, designing everything, and then building the straight set of stairs. So with that said, let's go ahead and install the floor sheathing and then the wall framing. And next up, we will just take a tour of the wall framing. And for those of you who are looking for some type of a lumber list, then I would simply suggest going around and counting the amount of studs you need along with the framing plates. And that's usually not that difficult to do. And of course, we are in the bedroom here. It's a small bedroom. I think it's about 11 foot by 13 feet. So not that small of a bedroom. And I think we have a 4 foot by 3'6" window here. And don't forget to make sure that your windows work with the fire egress codes. And of course, this window as a sliding window should. Take a look at the kitchen window, and that's going to be 3 foot by 3 foot. And of course, we got a nice size closet here. And then our bathroom, and here we have a 4 foot wide by 18-inch tall window, and your window might need to be a little smaller depending on the bathtub or the bathtub surround you're going to use. And we are also going to have a window in here to provide us with a little more light for the stairway, and this window right here might need to be tempered glass. And now we will take a look at the outside here. lower window in the garage, upper window in the living room, and then our bedroom here, front of the house or front of the garage and the loft area, depending upon what you will need to refer to it. And then our kitchen, closet, and bathroom, along with no windows over here because of some of the plumbing pipes that are going to be coming down in the wall there. The bathroom door, kitchen area, right here's where the refrigerator is going to go. And you can always make the kitchen a little larger by making the closet a little smaller, or by extending the wall here. You can see here where this wall here can come out a little bit to give you another foot or maybe 14-16 inches of cabinet area. Next up, let's go ahead and add our ceiling joist along with our drywall backing for the corners and our access hole. And the joist here will be spaced 16 inches on center, the same as our roof rafters. And you might need to use 2x12 or 2x14s in the area where you're going to have 24-foot spans. And it might even be easier for you depending upon the lumber in your area, because I've heard about a lot of people complaining that they can't get lumber maybe longer than 16 feet. And if that's the case, you might want to install a beam in this area here, especially if you want the floor to be level, because you might be using it for something in the future. And let's not forget that if you refer to the attic as a storage area on your plans, then the ceiling joist might turn into floor joist and need to be even larger. And let's keep in mind that this video, even though I am providing you with lumber sizes, you might need to contact a structural engineer to verify those sizes, along with the other parts of the building. Next up, let's go ahead and install our roof rafters. And I'm not going to go over a lot of the detail here because I have done that in quite a few of the other videos. So again, go back and check out some of those if you need a better view of this, because this is the same roof that I have used in a couple of the videos already. And it has a 8 and 12 pitch. And I believe that pitch comes out to be around a 33-34 degree angle, and a nice angle sometimes for allowing the snow to fall off of the roof. However, I'm sure that is going to depend upon the roofing material you use, because I've seen some slopes that are pretty steep with a lot of snow on them. And if you live in snow country, I'm pretty sure you have also. Next up, let's go ahead and zoom in on the corner here. Give you an idea of what the fascia board and the gable studs are going to look like at this area here. And now let's go ahead and take a tour of some of the inside wall framing and ceiling joist connection. And again, here we have our ceiling backing, a flat 2x6, and we notched our joist block over it. You can always take the backing to the block on each side and then avoid notching it. And again, I don't think there's really going to be a big difference there. I know a lot of people ask me, hey, what would you do? And to be honest with you, I like this connection here. And of course, our access hole here with our hangers. Zoom in on the backing here. You might want to put this backing on after you install the roof rafters. And that might be something you want to do on all of your ceiling backing. Next up, let's take a look at the view out of the kitchen window that could be a problem because of the overhang and the slope of the roof. And you're going to have the same problem with the living room window also. And to fix that, you could either change the slope of the roof to make it lower or reduce the length of the overhang. For example, the overhang in our video is about 2 feet. You could always reduce it to 1 foot to solve that problem if it is a problem for you. Another view of the ceiling backing along with the ceiling backing on the other side. And we will also be taking a tour of the lower wall framing for those of you wondering just why in the heck we're spending so much time on the upper wall framing. And again, you can see here where the living room window has a little bit of an obstructed view from the roof overhang. And of course, our stair landing or upper part of the floor, this needs to be at least 36 inches for most buildings like these. And I believe most building code books refer to the length of this right here as applying to a building with less than 50 occupants. A view of the bottom of the bedroom door. corner of the bedroom framing. Next up, let's take a look at the other corner of the bedroom framing and continue around the room here to the door. And next up, let's go ahead and take a look at the bottom of the closet door, and you can kind of see here how the framing for this area is also going to be assembled along with this side. And if you're dealing with an uninsulated wall and you need to overspan one of the wall framing studs or even a couple of them, instead of laying everything out at 16 inches on center and then needing to install another stud that's only going to be a couple of inches away from this stud, you could simply leave that framing stud out. And I've done that plenty of times on non-load bearing interior walls. Kitchen wall here, bathroom door, and again we moved the floor framing from our other video back a little bit to line up with the bathroom wall here to provide us with a nice finish. And of course I don't have the studs located, especially in the bathtub area here. I will be changing the location of those studs in our next video about the plumbing. In this video, I will provide you with a few examples on how you can install the rough plumbing for our two-car garage with the loft or apartment. And we will start with the vent sticking out of the roof sheathing. And this vent is for the wash machine, which is going to have a 2-inch pipe. And even though it might look like I'm going a little faster through this video, I've cut it up into a few sections, so you're going to get a lot of different views, and some of them might actually be the same throughout the video, except we might not have parts of the foundation or the framing. And I might make another video to provide you with a little more information about a variety of different things you can do on this same project that might or might not save you a few dollars. So here we have the kitchen drain, hot water, cold water, and of course we're going around the wall framing stud. For those of you who might not be familiar with this, you're usually not allowed to drill through a 2x4 wall where you have the king stud and the jack stud. That might severely weaken this section of the window and wall framing. And of course, now would be a good time to point out that you should check with your local building department and plumbers in your area to verify all of the information in this video. And here we have the bathroom sink along with the toilet and the water supply for the toilet and our bathtub. And another thing you are going to want to do will be to keep all of the plumbing inside of the wall framing and floor framing if you possibly can. Another important part of installing plumbing. And as I said, we are going to be removing some stuff to provide you with different views. And here you can see where the plumbing vent pipe for the bathtub, toilet, bathroom sink, and kitchen sink would look like without the wall framing. And of course we have our vent for the laundry or the wash machine. Next up, let's go ahead and take away the floor sheathing so that I can show you how the water supply pipes will be going through the floor framing joist, along with how you might need to notch out some of the framing to install larger pipes like the 2-inch pipe for the wash machine. And in a moment here, you will see where you won't need to do that to the smaller pipes that we're going to use for the bathroom sink or kitchen sink that's going to have an 1.5 inch pipe. So we are going to be drilling through the floor joist so that we can run our water supply pipes in the floor framing, and we will be building a little ceiling or a little soffit to cover the pipes that are going to be sticking below the joist. And it's often easier to do something like this in a garage where you're not worried about the ceiling. However, I rarely see plumbers do it, and I think that's because they're trained to keep everything inside of the floors and the walls. However, in my opinion, you can do something like this and install all of your straps on the inside for the framing plates, so they won't create any problems for the exterior or the interior finished materials like siding or drywall. And of course, you can save some time by not drilling as many holes through all of the framing materials. Another big plus with doing it this way. Next up, let's take a look at the bathtub drain and water supply pipes. hot and cold water along with the shower valve. And we will have the lower section here for the bathtub, upper section for the shower head. Next up, let's take a look at the sink here. And even though I won't be providing you with details, I want you to go through the video and check out how the hot water is going to be on the left side of the fixture. Cold water is going to be on the right side. However, if you mess this up on a sink, it's not really going to be that big of a deal. You can just get longer hoses that you will be using to connect the water supply to the faucet. Instead of having the connection hose go straight up, it'll simply crisscross. This one will go over to here. This one will go over to here. And trust me, I've had to do that myself a few times. And of course, the kitchen sink and the end of the line for our water supply pipes. Let's go ahead and pan out a little bit, give you a view of everything there. And then we will remove the floor joist so we can get a better view of the water supply pipes without all of that stuff in our way. So let's go ahead and start with the water supply coming in, cold water coming in to a gate valve or a valve that you can use to shut off the water supply to the garage and the apartment. So cold water going up here. Coming up here, cold water is going to continue up to feed all of the cold water for the rest of the building. However, it's also going to branch off and go through the water heater. And of course, this is where our hot water comes from. The cold water will go into the hot water heater and then come out nice and toasty. At least that's hopefully how it's going to work. Now, here's something I like to do, especially on a job like this, even though it might not require it, and that would be to use 3/4 inch pipe to allow more water to flow to certain fixtures. Now, if I'm going to a bathroom sink and a kitchen sink, I could probably get away with just running 1/2 inch lines from this point here and this point here. So you're going to want to think about that when you're reducing the pipes down as to where you're going to position the reducer. Before the pipe going to one of the supply sides or on the other side. And this might not make a difference here, especially if we are using some type of water saving fixtures that will also be reducing the flow rate of the water. And this will also be something you will need to consider when planning what size pipes you're going to use. So again, 3/4 inch pipe going here. We got 3/4 inch pipe here, reducing down here after we get past the washer and dryer lines, and then reducing here and then reducing here down to 1/2 inch to go to the kitchen sink. And then here we have our stub outs that will be cut after the water pipes have been tested or filled up with pressurized water. And then after all of the walls have been finished, cabinets have been installed, we can go ahead and cut these pipes off to install our water shutoff valves. Next up, let's take a close-up view of how the 90s are working here. And even though I'm sure most of the people know this, you can always stop the video, pause it at any time if you need to examine something a little more carefully. And of course, this is what I was talking about when I said that it makes my wife a little happier to reduce after the toilet to avoid a problem that you might not be dealing with low flow shower heads. However, years ago, it wasn't uncommon to have someone in the shower and then someone else flushing the toilet, only to create a temperature change, and then within a few moments, someone in the shower screaming because the water temperature got a little bit warmer, because instead of now having water dedicated to only the shower, you now have water going to the toilet and the shower. And I know some of you think, wait a minute, who's going to use the toilet when someone else is in the shower? Because a long time ago, when we only had one bathroom and 6 or 7 people living in the house, it wasn't uncommon to have someone in the shower while somebody else was using the toilet. And that might be a little too much information for most of the viewers. But what can I say, huh? Just trying to keep the video entertaining. And of course, another view of the water supply lines to the wash machine. Next up, let's go ahead and bring back the drainage pipes. And we are going to take a look at what the drainage pipes might look like without the concrete slab in the way. And we are going to be using a 3-inch pipe here, along with our combo fitting, reducing it down to 1.5 inches, and then using a sweep fitting or a long 90. And this will happen over here also, kind of the same setup, 1.5 inches, to pick up the bathroom bedroom sink, and then a 3-inch line going to the toilet with a clean out, along with an 1.5-inch line coming off for the bathtub. And we are going to have 2 clean outs here. We're going to have one for the toilet line and one for the bathtub, even though you're probably thinking, oh, wait a minute, what do we need something for just this line here? However, I would install the clean out, and you might consider installing a clean out on each one of the lines here. However, I will leave that up to you. And of course our toilet, reducing down to a 2-inch vent pipe. Everything else over here is going to have an 1.5-inch vent. And I am also going to go through the roof with each one of these pipes instead of connecting them together inside of the attic, to provide you with another example of something that might be easier for you to do, including the kitchen, where we have our drain line here and then our vent coming up and around the king stud so we don't have to drill through it. And then we're going to need a 2-inch pipe for the wash machine drain, along with a 2-inch pipe for the vent. And hopefully by now I have provided you with all of the views or angles that I possibly could for this project, so that you can get a pretty good look at how the plumbing works. So let's go ahead and wrap this video up. And if anybody sees any problems with the plumbing, feel free to share it with us in the comment area. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comment area. And I will be making another video to show you how you can connect the vents a little different in the attic, and to address any concerns that the viewers might have. So make sure that you leave those in the comment area as soon as possible.